Oh, what's going on, YouTubers? It's the Natural Born Thriller, and welcome everyone to All Elite Wrestling Review, the show from September 16th, 2020. This will be your AEW Dynamite results with your commentators Excalibur, Kulo J.R. Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone, and that's it. But they're in Jacksonville, Florida, in Daly's Place, and a lot happened on this show here. We're going to get to that. Obviously, if you see my live reactions, yeah, I know a lot that's happened on the show here. And since I have a lot of free time to do this little review, I'm going to do this right here, right now, as I later on maybe do something later on that has nothing to do with YouTube, obviously, but pertains to another platform that pertains to Hangouts. But yeah, I'm about to go to the show here that I just recently watched about an hour ago. And before I do, just wanted to say what pertains to the Impact Wrestling review that happened this past week on Tuesday. I will get to that too. Eventually, just sometime this week. Hopefully, maybe tomorrow or Friday, or we shall see. As far as AEW Dark results, or pertains to doing a review of it, that will not be necessary because if you want to hear my review take on AEW Dark, basically, I didn't go to the full details of it, but if you wanted to hear my you know you know my sort of quick review, quick results, quick thoughts, quick analysis of AEW Dark, tune into my to the beginning of the show that I did. And the beginning of the show that I did, obviously, which was from a few hours ago, was the live reactions to AEW Dynamite. So hopefully I'll be good enough there. So don't expect any AEW Dark results for All Elite Wrestling review this week because I did the results of it on the live reactions before I got to the live reactions basically. So yeah, but you will be expecting some Impact Wrestling review sometime this week. But as of right now, I'm gonna do this AEW Dynamite review. So let's get right into it. But before we do, let's talk about some things first. If this is the first time you're experiencing the Natural Born Driller, experiencing, to my YouTube channel, Natural Born Driller, for I am Robert Serrano Jr., please hit that subscribe button. If you enjoy what I'm about to do here, basically, if you like what I'm about to do here, for instance, give you my quick results on this AEW Dynamite from September 16th, 2020, please give it a like. But if you dislike what I'm about to do here, please give it a dislike. Either way, thank you for viewing. Thank you for spending your time day and night to experience what the Natural Born Thriller is all about right here. Or taste of giving you the best content that I can give to you. So, that being said, now let's get right into the show here itself. But before we do, the Darkness of Chaos Network friend request on Facebook. All right, and I know who you are by the way, so I'll get right into that. PS Guy 85. AEW, 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 AEW. It's the AEW effect, folks. Also from PS Guy 85, we need a AEW game badly. I agree. If it's coming out for the PS5, maybe that's why they wait for the AEW game to come out. Maybe when the PS5 comes out, and maybe that's their way to introduce the AEW video game because it's needed. It's really needed, and hopefully we'll get to that point. But that being said, let's get right into the show here, folks. The opening show for AEW Dynamite from September 16th, 2020 edition was FTR being created by Tully Blanchard, which is Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood, the AEW World Tag Team Champions, against the Jurassic Express being created by Marco Stunt, which is Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, in a non-title match. This match itself was pretty good. I enjoyed this tag team for what it was. Jungle Boy was very impressive. Was one of the best performers in that tag team match. Luchasaurus was good too. but the ones that would impress me most likely was FTR because of the tag team tactics, the old school tag team tactics that they were doing. And in the end, it was FTR getting the win after cheating to get the win. Jungle Boy looked strong in this match, but at the end of the day, he came up short against FTR, and FTR ends up winning this tag team match. And there you go. And I'm glad too because if Jurassic Express would have won, I would have been calling out AEW on their tactics of if you beat the champion, you get a shot against the champion, sometime in the future, wherever. Like how WWE does it too, but when WWE does it in a garbage, trashy, bad booking way. But in this case, it was all right because FTR won. Now, unless they were doing something like a New Japan way, where they could get a shot of it, that would be nice. Like for example, what happened with Chris Jericho teamed up with Sammy Guevara? I think back in it was with Jericho and Santana. I mean, Jericho and Sammy Guevara to say against STU's Frankie Kazarian and Scorpio Sky, or maybe it was Jericho would team up with Proud and Powerful at the time against SCU, where Scorpio Sky got the win over Jericho, who was at the time the AEW World Champion, and then we got this later on that Scorpio Sky gets a reward of it by challenging the AEW World Champion Chris Jericho, which he ends up losing at the end of the day, but so it was something to that degree. So like how New Japan does it. So, but in this case, FTR won, so there was no problem with that. So it was they did the right thing there. And then we get to after the match, Alex Marvez was talking to Private Party, who was checking out on Matt Hardy because Matt Hardy apparently was attacked from the knee, from the knee. And I'm saying to myself, wait a minute, why is Matt Hardy even there? I thought he was supposed to be taking time off from from Dynamite, from AEW basically, pertains to after what happened to him at All Out. And then Chris Jericho and Jake Hager shows up and says, "Are you okay?" and everything. And Jericho's laughing and say, "Looks like Hardy isn't the luckiest guy in wrestling this week and everything." And basically had his baseball bat, Floyd, with him. And I'm thinking to myself, I wonder if Jericho has anything to do with this. Basically Hager and Jericho laughed it off and walked away. Because I'm assuming they were, Matt Hardy was supposed to be in the corners of Private Party because Matt Hardy is praising Private Party as the new Hardy Boys. The Hardy Party. I think that's what they call it at the time. When they were doing the whole thing. But yeah. So I think that was I mean, obviously Jericho may have something to do with this, obviously, because he had a baseball bat in his hand, which is named Floyd. So, but yeah, but that's not. But again, I gotta say this again. Matt Hardy should not even be there. He should be taking time off. I mean, that wasn't that the whole promo that he did last week, where he said that he's going to be taking time off, to get a full recovery and all that. So I guess in a way, that's just the way to write him off this time, where it takes to be attacked by Jericho with a baseball bat. Basically to get revenge for Sammy Guevara, maybe. I'm assuming that's how they did it. I'm pretty sure that's how they want to do it too. So that's my guess. But I digress. But we'll get to Jericho and Hager versus Private Party later on, because we get to the Hangman Adam Page versus Frankie Kazarian with Kenny Omega on commentary with Jim Ross, Excalibur, and Tony Schiavone. The match itself between the Hangman and the Page and Frankie Kazarian was pretty good, and he got Kenny Omega, pertains to pertains to him putting over both of singles wrestlers in Frankie Kazarian and Hangman and the Page, but more likely putting over Frankie Kazarian because he has more of a leeway of being a singles wrestler than the Hangman and the Page, and but then in the end, after the back and forth action between the Hangman and Kaz, which Frankie Kazarian, he was also called Kaz back in the days of of TNA wrestling. At the end, it was the Hangman Adam Page getting the win, and then after the match, all of a sudden Kenny Omega leaves commentary, and as he leaves, the Hangman Adam Page knows that he's gone from commentary, and then all of a sudden the Hangman and Page ends up someone tossed him a can of beer, and he ends up drinking the can of beer, and that's his way of celebrating his win and his victory after his match. And yeah, a good match between the Hangman and the Page and Frankie Kazarian. They've been in matches before coming to AEW, and this was no different. So there you go. We recap the history between Santana and Ortiz and Best Friends because they're building up their match for later on, which is going to be the parking lot brawl, which we'll get to. 4-4 shooters. What's up? It's Eric Menendez. Yes, I know. And what's up? Next, we get to MJF, who's being accompanied by Warlow versus Sean Dean. So here's how the match started. They go for a handshake at first. All of a sudden, a pokey eye, and then the bell rang, which referee had no idea that even happened. Also, he goes for the Fujiwara armbar, and Sean Dean immediately taps out, and MJF wins. And like, what the hell was this? So this was the MJF in action that they wanted to build a week ago, and a week later, here we are, and this is what we get. Wow, just wow. One way to bury your next homegrown talent in AEW and Sean Dean, So after the match, Warlow throws out Sean Dean, and then all of a sudden we get to MJF kind of promo saying that if there's one thing that he can agree is that he is an honest man, and he says to Dictator John, which he's referring to John Moxley, is the guy people cheer for, but he cheated in that match. And I say to myself, well, popcorn the color back there because you cheated in that match too. And look what I got you nowhere. But MJ continues saying that he's undefeated and he should be the current champion, and said that Moxley is a loser. And basically he because that didn't count with him because when John Moxley went against the rules, he is still recognized as being undefeated, undisputed, and the uncrowned world champion of AEW. And in fact, he wants Justin Roberts to make that announcement. So Justin Roberts makes that announcement with a monotone voice of his, and all of a sudden MJF said, "No, do it like you mean it, like, from the gut and everything. Otherwise, he's going to sick Warlow on you." So Justin Roberts, does it like he means it, and after that was done, MJF says, he basically brings up, how there are so many stables in AEW, and he said he always been a lone wolf, but maybe it's time for him to join a wolf pack. Rather he joins someone or not, he's still better than them, and they know it. And that was it. Great promo there from MJF. I'm assuming we're saying to AEW been up on these number of stables, factions in a way as well, like how New Japan has been doing too. Even back in the old days of the WWF, you know, um, I like it, and I'm assuming with MJF bringing in this, him mentioning a faction of stables, in a way, maybe we're gonna be seeing Dynasty that MJF was a part of, um, retains to MLW, Major League Wrestling. Maybe that's what it is leading to, but we'll see. Um, but I'm interested. So basically, this is the next phase, the next plan for MJF. Hey, that's good. A's not teaching any more of any dissensions between Warlow and MJF until they decide to actually do it, maybe in 2021. But we shall see. We get to a video of Taz breaking down some moves in the ring from Absolute Ricky Starks, and he's been known to do this before too. By the way, folks, we're testing him being on as commentator. He did it before back in in WWE or SmackDown, and he did it also back in the days of when he was in TNA wrestling, as a commentator, and he knows a lot because he's a former wrestler himself. So it was good that he's doing it also here right here on AEW where it seems to his protege. I mean, um, not his protege. to his basically to one of his clients, meant to say. That's what I meant to say. His clients, Ricky Starks, where it pertains to Team Taz. So also we get to Force Shooter says listen to DTKC show. Yeah, good. Those guys are they do a good job with their shows too. They've been around all for a couple decades, and they do a good job of what they do, and they really show a lot of you know a lot of great context in it as well. So Eddie Kingston with Penta L0M, Ray Phoenix, the Butcher, and the Blade, and basically Eddie Kingston says that has 3 points to make. One, he never lost the Casino Battle Royale, which is true. He says to look up the rules, or look up the footage that shows that Eddie Kingston was never eliminated from the Battle Royale. He never went over the top rope. So, but point two, his group is a family, and they are not a faction, and they are family of violence. So hopefully this means that this is the name of the factions, even though he said this is not a faction, they're family, but they basically they call themselves the family of excuse me, the family of violence. That's meant to say. So then, um, Eddie Kingston asked them to find some victims. So they grabbed some people, at ringside and beat them up. For example, they beat up one of his name was Kevin Blackwood, Griff Garrison. And I forgot the other guy's name, who was also on AW Dark. But basically, they beat them up and everything. Um, basically destroys them, and that was it. Now I can't remember what was point three. Because Eddie Kingston wanted to make 3 points. Okay, here it is. Point three. He says since they got things in order, he tells the Blade that he needs to get his own house in order. Basically referencing Allie, referencing to Allie being the bunny. One moment, folks. Okay, so what I was going to say was about the whole thing with Allie being with QT Marshall, and how this whole thing even came about, where it tends to Allie, who was the bunny, broke away from the Butcher and the Blade. There was never a story of it. There was no angles of it, no segments of it, nothing that they did what pertains to why Allie decided to break away from the Butcher and the Blade to be with QT Marshall. Where I said before, when it first did it, I thought at first there's gonna lead to something where Allie's gonna it's gonna embarrass them and betray them, so that it could eventually lead to a match, which with her joining back with the Butcher and the Blade, it tends to the Butcher and the Blade versus the Natural Nightmares, and then later on, do you know, Allie, as the bunny, versus Brandy Rose, which not really a fan of that one because after having the last time from last year basically with Brandy Rose sucking in the ring against Allie, and Allie was the one that was good in the match, but Brandy Rose was not good in the match because let's face it, Brandy Rose is trash as a wrestler. So basically, we had to sit through a Brandy Rose match in a way, and then eventually it will lead to a 6-man tag match, with the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny versus the Natural Nightmares that will feature Dustin Rose, QT Marshall, and Brandy Rose. So I thought that was going to lead to that, but it never led to any of that at all. It was just a storyline that they decided to just ignore and not have any continuity in it whatsoever. Which AEW should be all about continuity instead of not being about not about continuity like WWE is. So I'm glad that A Kingston is involved in this whole thing because A Kingston wants to make pro wrestling make sense in a way, and the way he's doing it is by including after what happened last week when he didn't name drop Pac, but we all know what he meant when he pretends to this guy from overseas in the UK is not even here for you boys. I'm here for you, you know. And then he mentions how thing with not mentioning Ali, but he did it again this week with the whole thing with Ali. But yeah, basically about mentioning her name. One moment, folks. Okay, so there you go. But yeah, but it was a good promo there by Eddie Kingston. It was a good segment too. So next we get to Chris Jericho and Jake Hager of the Inner Circle versus Private Party, Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn. And match itself was pretty good, decent tag team match between the both sides. At one point, the baseball bat was in the play, beyond the referee's back. And it was a back off action, and you know, Private Party looked very good in the match against Jake Hager and Chris Jericho. Unfortunately, in the end, they came up short because Chris Jericho is getting the win, and basically for him and Hager. And after the match, Jericho gets Isaiah Cassidy into the walls of Jericho. Also, QT Marshall gets in the ring and takes out Jericho with a Pele kick, and Hager helps out Jericho out there. And I'm assuming that's going to lead to a match between Mark Quinn versus Chris Jericho. I'm assuming, we're just a 1-1 match, but nothing has been talked about yet, so it's whatever. AEW has mentioned something, folks, where it pertains to a special 1-hour event, which is going to be Dynamite on the Tuesday nights, and which basically what they're calling it, AEW Late Night Dynamite. Okay, so yeah, and here are the matches that are lined up here for Late Night Dynamite for AEW on the Tuesday nights after the NBA playoffs, and which, by the way, again, a 1-hour special, and it will feature the following matches: Scorpio Sky versus Ben Carter, Anna Jay versus Brandy Rose, which I'm fine seeing Anna Jay, not because of her looks, but because of her wrestling. And then you got Brandy Rose with, obviously with her looks, but not so much of her wrestling. Not so much of her wrestling at all. So I'm looking forward to see how this match is going to end up being. With Brandy Rose being in it. I'm really concerned about Anna Jay here, folks. But we'll see. Matt Sydal. Yes, that's right. Matt Sydal. He's going to be there against Shawn Spears, being accompanied by Tully Blanchard. And on top of that, you'll be having Chris Jericho on commentary for that show, which is great. I think it's great. So yeah, this will be next Tuesday at 10 p.m. I'm assuming they said 10 p.m. And again, it's gonna be after the NBA playoffs. So 10 o'clock p.m. a 1-hour special of AEW Late Night Dynamite on a Tuesday night, and I cannot wait. Next, we get to Ivelisse being accompanied by Deanna Monte versus the NWA Women's World Champion Thunder Rosa for the NWA Women's World Championship. And speaking of Women's World Championship, speaking of Women's World Champion, meant to say, you have the AEW Women's World Champion at ringside in the crowd, the front row, the front section. Hikaru Shida watching on. So, Ivelisse and Thunder Rosa had matches before. The one match that was that stood out before they met each other here again, this time in the AEW ring, was back in Reality of Wrestling of the Ladies Night Out, which you could watch on Talent Match. I think that's the name of the YouTube channel, where it takes to watching some very good women's wrestling and other type of very good wrestling. Rotates to intergender and women's wrestling. Other this also rotates to men's wrestling too, but it features a lot more of women's wrestling and intergender wrestling than anything. And yeah, so Thunder Rosa and Ivelisse will meet had once again meeting again. This time it's a different Thunder Rosa because this time this is the new Thunder Rosa, what pertains to her new fighting background with her on doing some MMA training a year ago, and she's evolved ever since. Meanwhile, you get Ivelisse, who's also got a fine background with pertains to her you know kickboxing and and all, and it was going to be a different type of match here between Ivelisse and Thunder Rosa, and it was great. The first match I had was great too, from Ladies Night Out 4, and this was no different either. This was another great match between Thunder Rosa and Ivelisse. A lot of very good moves from both sides of the women's. Obviously, in the end, it was Thunder Rosa winning with a tombstone pile driver. And I'm like, wow, I never seen Thunder Rosa win with a tombstone pile driver before, but she did, and she ends up doing it, retaining still the NWA Women's World Champion Thunder Rosa. And this match was the best match com- coming up to this part of Dynamite. This was the best match. Not saying all matches were not good either, because like I said before, yeah matches that they did well. I would say the waste of a match and the weakest match on the show was MJF. It wasn't really much of a match, but uh up to this point, the women's wrestling that involves Thunder Rosa and Ivelisse, especially where it involves Thunder Rosa, this was the best match on the show for AEW Dynamite. But after the match, Thunder Rosa gets attacked by Diamante, and Ivelisse holds up the belt as Thunder Rosa was kicked out of the ring by Diamante. All of a sudden, the AEW Women's World Champion Hikaru Shida gets in the ring and kicks both of their asses out of the ring, and she picks up the NWA Women's Championship belt, and then Thunder Rosa gets in the ring. All of a sudden, Hikaru Shida puts the belt around her shoulder. Thunder Rosa are looking confused, because Thunder Rosa is supposed to be looked at as a heel as well in on TV, and basically from one champion to another, Hikaru Shida was showing respect to Thunder Rosa. Holy Shida, that was great. I just had to throw that in there, folks. We go at the gym where we see Miro lifting weights while Penelope Ford is helping him out, and while Kip Sabian is kind of promo by saying once they get in the ring and they are going to be unstoppable for anyone that comes in the way. Also, Miro pops up and says he wants to get in the ring so badly. And Kip Sabian say they have a little thing to do first, and Miro says yes, he's the best man, and they will do a bachelorette party. So we'll see what the bachelorette party is going to be. They haven't really announced if it's going to be next week or whatever, but hey, it's going to be a bachelorette party, and I cannot wait. I'm serious with this, folks. I cannot wait. I think with Miro, I think it's going to be good in a way, but we'll see. Only time will tell to see how good it's going to be. I still don't like having pro wrestling winning segments that pertains to professional wrestling, but we'll see how AEW can deliver it. Then we get to Snake Roberts with the Murder Hawk Monster Lance Archer. He gets out there. Also, he grabs some guy in a luchador mask who's sitting in the front row. Don't know who he is. Excuse me, don't know who he is. But I'll tell you one thing: it wasn't Serpentico because he was on the other side with the rest of the heels. And he gets beaten up for his trouble. Also, Joe Garber gets on the mic and says that if Lance Archer has to, to make some tag team partners for next week, he'll he'll lay with the devil, and he turns into the Tasmanian devil, which is Taz. So he calls out Taz. Taz heads to the ring, as he says that Brian Cage and Ricky Starks will team up with Lance Archer, as long as Brian Cage gets the first shot at the title when Lance Archer beats Jon Moxley, which I don't see Lance Archer win the match against Jon Moxley, but we'll see what pertains to the first anniversary at at October 14th for AEW Dynamite. So we'll see. But as Archer says that when he puts Moxley down, AEW is going to have a killer new champion, and says uh, that Atkinson can complain all he wants about who won the battle royale, or whatever, but he and Cage will go Godzilla all over Gelly's place. And all of a sudden, John Moxley comes out, the AEW World Champion. He comes out. He's getting ready to start talking. But as he's getting ready to start talking, all of a sudden we see someone behind him. Obviously, his crowd's there, and one crowd, who's also a lot of crowds are wearing face masks, but one crowd wearing a face mask. I'm like saying to myself, that's Ricky Starks. Oh my god, that's Ricky Starks. Like I could tell that was Ricky Starks. Even when he wearing a face mask, I could tell that was him. So sure enough, it was absolute Ricky Starks attacking John Moxley from behind. And basically, the way they did this too, is reminiscent of what happened. What actually what almost happened with John Moxley from All Out when the fan almost went to John Moxley. Um, I mean, it was confirmed by the way that this fan was not trying to attack Moxley, but this fan was trying to at least to give a hug or agree himself to John Moxley in a way. And then obviously securities were there to make sure that didn't happen. Because the worst could have happened. But that's how securities are paid for to do. You know, but in this case, what does it say about the securities for for the show Dynamite? For Dynamite. You know, so Ricky Starks ends up being Ricky Starks attacking John Moxley, and also Brian Cage comes out too, and we get security trying to help out, and then the security was taken out by Brian Cage, I believe by Brian Cage or by Ricky Starks. I can't remember which of the two, but also Ricky Starks and Brian Cage beat up on Moxley. Moxley trying to fight back, and Moxley was thrown into Moxley by Cage was thrown into a roll case, which was made by wood, and it broke up it broke into pieces. Also, we get Will Hobbs coming out of nowhere, you know, with a steel chair, and you know attacks Brian Cage with it. He swings away as they retreat. Also, John Moxley gets on a microphone and introduce Will Hobbs, who is who's all about willpower, and he also shouts at the camera, pretends to gain Darby Allin's attention, saying that Darby Allin, get your ass back to Jacksonville, and next week to be uh you know partners of ours to go up against Lance Archer, Brian Cage, and Ricky Starks. And there you go. So yeah, good segment there. Good promos as well. Returns to Jake Roberts, to Taz, to Lance Archer, even to John Moxley. And then with the whole commotion going on as well. It was all well done. So what's on now for next week on AEW Dynamite on the Wednesday nights? And I'm not talking about AEW late night Dynamite for Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. I'll talk about for next week's AEW Dynamite on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. And that is the lineups of the following matches here: John Moxley, Will Hobbs, and Darby Allin versus Lance Archer, Brian Cage, and Ricky Starks. Also, the Exalted One, Mr. Brody Lee of the Dark Order, defends his AEW TNT Championship against Freshly Squeezed Orange Cassidy. And then we get Hikaru Shida and Thunder Rosa, the Women's World Champions, versus the AEW Women's Tag Team Cup winners of 2020, Diamante and Ivelisse. And also, Chris Jericho will make his appearance live. What he's going to do, I don't know. We have to wait and see. Maybe he'll announce another Minosa Mayhem match, this time with Mark Quinn. We'll see. And finally, folks, the main event will feature best friends Trent and Chuck Taylor versus Proud and Powerful Santana Ortiz of the Inner Circle. Santana Ortiz shows up with their face paints. It reminds me of the face paint that they also wore back when they were in Impact Wrestling too as well. I'm assuming it was against the OGs of LDX at the time, or maybe it was against OVE. I can't remember which which it was. But I remember back in the days of Impact Wrestling, they wore face paints like that, and it's pretty cool the way they wear their face paints too. It shows how much of a of a intimidating tag team that it can be, and they are too. Um, and then you got Trent and you know Chuck Taylor there wait for them, and also the match began with them brawling while you have the AW crew that were at front first at in the front row seats, were chance to watching the entire show, and then they started moving to the parking lot to watch the rest of the the final segment, which was the main event, the parking lot brawl between Best Friends versus Proud and Powerful, and you had two referees, which was Rick Knox and Bryce Ransberg, and yeah, the show at this point, it started from good, and all they had to do is close up with a big bang here, and they kind of did. As a matter of fact, they actually did do it because of this parking lot brawl. And with this parking lot brawl, folks, everything that they did here, it got me vibes back in the days, back when watching WCW Monday Nitro. I'm assuming it was Monday Nitro at the time, where it was Lord Steven Regal, who is now William Regal in WWE as the NXT general manager, against Finley, who is David Finley, Dave Finley in a way, and he loves to fight, by the way. And this reminds me of that that whole thing too, where they had a parking lot brawl, by missing vehicles as weapons, and also anything surrounds in the parking lot as weapons too. And also give me another same vibe too as well, where it tends to back in WWE with the Ruthless Aggression era on SmackDown, by the way, with the United States Championship title match on basically United title being on the line with Eddie Guerrero, the champion, versus John Cena, the challenger, with Chavo Guerrero Jr. returning to help out his uncle Eddie to defeat fuckboy Buckethead John Cena. Just saying. But besides that, the match itself between Santana Ortiz versus Trent and Chuck Taylor in this match, it was a all-out brawl. You have blood, you have a lot of weapons involved, like a left pipe, uh, a steel a steel dustpan they had. They had a lot of plywood, 2x4s, the tassel that Santana Ortiz had. They used, and obviously they used any type of vehicles that were there as weapons too as well. Ortiz was bleeding from the I mean, not Ortiz. Well, Ortiz was bleeding from the elbow. You also had Santana bleeding from the forehead. You had Trent bleeding from the back of basically from his back, basically because of the windshield that he was crashed they went crashing burning through by Proud and Powerful. Yeah, just a lot of hard hitting, a lot of impactful moves as well that happened in this brawl. And then finally, when Santana was getting ready to take care of Chuck Taylor, all of a sudden um he presses you know some button that he had there, because I'm assuming that the car that he was leaning onto was his car, Chuck Taylor, and in the trunk out pops out freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy, and he had a steel chain wrapped around his fist, and he uses his finishing move, the Orange Punch, to take out Santana. And I'm like, holy shit! I like that was a surprise there that I didn't see coming. But at the same time, you kind of expected this too, because Orange Cassidy was attacked by Santana Ortiz last week for no reason, and Orange Cassidy had to give them back their receipt, and this is the way to do it. So in the end, obviously, Best Friends as a win the brawl, the parking lot brawl, to say the least. And the way it was done, it was Trent planting Ortiz off of the hood of the car, or the hood of the truck, with the ply, the two by, I mean the plywood board in the way, and driven him through it and the referee counts to three, and your winners of the parking lot brawl and the feud, Santana, Trent and Chuck Taylor, best friends, with a little help from their friend, Freshly Squeeze, the baddest man on the planet, Orange Cassidy, and number contender, challenger to next week's AW TNT Championship title against Mr. Brody Lee, the champion, for next week's Dynamite. So yeah, awesome way to end the show. A big bang. Um, and then best friends, they hug because you gotta get the people what they want. And you have Orange Cassidy helping them out too, as they start walking towards out of the parking lot. All of a sudden they go into Trent's mom's Sue's new minivan. They got a new minivan there, so Orange Cassidy called for shotgun, while Trent and Chuck Taylor goes into the passenger seat. And as Sue is driving away, she sticks her hand out and she sticks her middle finger, flipping off Santana Ortiz as she's driving away. And that's how the show ended. And a happy ending feud in a way. I guess that's how you want to call it, in a way of ending AEW Dynamite. And there you go, folks. That was the show where it pertains to AEW Dynamite for this All Elite Wrestling review. For AEW Dynamite results, show from September 16th, 2020. And the show itself, besides the MJF match, which you couldn't do without that, I thought it was great. Talking about wrestling for AEW Dynamite from, again, September 16th, 2020. 6 matches that were on here. And the one match again, that should never been that was not needed. MJF versus Shawn Dean. But the other matches were pretty damn good. They were all from good, decent, great, and ended with a bang. And the one that ended with a bang was the parking lot brawl between Best Friends versus Proud and Powerful. My overall stream for the show, where it pertains to AEW Dynamite for this All Elite Wrestling review, I'm gonna give the show 8.5 out of 10. Great show, as always. AEW once again knocked it out of the park. Now, before I end this, I gotta say one thing with reference to Chris Jericho. Hopefully, Chris Jericho didn't come up with his new nickname last week too soon. What pertains to him being the million viewer man. I think that's what he's calling himself, right? The million viewer man, because last week AEW Dynamite editions hit 1 million, over 1 million viewers. For pertains to the ratings. Hopefully they'll still continue with this one, because if not, because AEW was competing tonight with NXT. So hopefully that wasn't, hopefully Jericho didn't spoke too soon with that, and it was too soon for that too as well. But we shall see. If AEW continues to do 1 million views for this week as well, then Jericho has a right to claim himself as the millionaire viewer man. But we'll see. But other than that, folks, yeah, I'm done. This is the first time you're experiencing the Natural Born Driller right here on the Natural Born Drillers YouTube channel, which is yours truly, Robert Stramley Jr. Hit that subscribe button. If you like what I did here on this All Elite Wrestling review, or chance getting your AEW Dynamite results, give it a like. If you dislike what I did here, give it a dislike. Either way, thank you all for viewing, spending your time day and night by experiencing what our content will give to you, pertains to the Natural Born Driller, yours truly. So, that being said, thank you all for watching. For it's the Natural Born Driller saying peace on the streets. For this was your All Elite Wrestling review. The show from September 16th, 2020, which is giving you AEW Dynamite results. So, you all stay well, stay safe, Take care of yourself, everything that's going on in the world. Wear your mask. Love one another. God bless one another. Live in peace and harmony for us all. I am out here. Ta ta for now.